Right now, we probably have a little over 100 clients and about maybe 15, 20 million in market. The loans that we provide come from larger nonprofits, so they pretty much gear where our focus is. And right now, it's all the monies we've been providing has been small business. And so that's where most of our funds are being geared to. Whereas about 10 years ago, our focus was real estate. You can use the loans for just about any business purpose. Permanent working capital, if you receive a large contract to facilitate that, build out the new space, equipment, as long as it's a business purpose. And we pretty much underwrite similar to a bank, but we take on more risk, meaning your credit scores don't have to hit a certain point. We take that into consideration when they go going on financially, understanding that you may be a new company and you're in the building process. We take into consideration that there might be a lack of collateral. Again, we're looking at what your overall scope is. Our minimum loan amount is about $50,000, and we can go up to $500,000 as we're helping the company grow. Not necessarily saying you get $500,000 out the gate, but as you grow, we can go that large. And what we consider a success story is someone that we help with the financing and they just simply grow too large. We enter a relationship with the client, setting the expectation that we don't expect this to be a long-term 10, 20-year relationship. We want you to graduate and be in traditional financing or become self-sufficient. Our interest rates are about 7%, and terms are about 5. You can go anywhere up to 7 years, but usually about 5 years. I was asked to talk about what I look for in a customer. And I would say the biggest things that I look for when a new customer comes to me is the owner's integrity. And after that, preparedness. Based on the fact that we're more risk tolerant, there has to be a lot of trust there. So we're a relationship builder, and we like to get to know our customers. So the integrity speaks volumes. It's a lot of loans that are done based on trust. And I can tell you right now in our loan committee, it's nothing for a committee member to ask, what do you think about this person? Are they all over the place? Are they focused? You think they can actually bring this to fruition? And then there's preparedness. When you're asking for a commercial loan, you need to come to your lender and know how much you need and what you need it for, and be able to speak solidly about your company. I know for me, I look at a lot of different companies and a lot of different industries. So I need the owners of the company to explain to me what your industry is. I'm assuming by looking at these names, there's a lot of tech companies here. I'm not necessarily a tech person, so if you were to come to me for a loan, you would need to explain to me what you do and how you generate income. And that's what I call the preparedness. The numbers don't lie. At the end of the day, I'm going to dig into the numbers. I'm going to look at your projections. I'm going to determine or have an opinion on if you're a startup out the door and you say within 12 months you're going to do $1 million. Do I really think that, or have you explained to me that it's a possibility, or maybe you have $1 million contract in hand, but there's opinions that are being made. So that's part of the preparedness. You have to explain to me how you're going to make these numbers work, or if these numbers actually make sense. I've had clients come to me with projections, and they want to have the highest level of integrity. They want to be super honest. So they come to me and they say, okay, here's my projections, but the first 3 years I'm not going to make anything. I'm in the red. Yeah, that's a little bit too much. You got to come prepared to show me at least how you're going to be able to live and make this loan. It might be, if you're married and your spouse has said they're going to support you through this period, or you have an outside job and you're going to do this in the evening. But that's what I mean about preparedness, being able to speak confidently about your company and the next steps and how you see this loan helping their company grow. Kind of running out of things to say. Is there any questions? Yes.
So you're a nonprofit.
Yes.
And so how does your profits get settled? For instance, like the 7% interest, how does that get settled? Or where does that go?
Here's the thing about a nonprofit. Nonprofits want to make money. They have an income statement and they want to make money. So the way it works is we have our larger funders. So the foundations that provide us money are the Goldman Sachs Foundation, J.P. Chase Morgan Foundation, Kellogg Foundation, Ford Foundation, Crest, United. The list goes on and on. And the monies they provide are sometimes grants and sometimes very low interest rate loans. And we then charge a percentage, so there's a markup, and that pays for our operating expenses. And that cycles through to pay for our operating expenses. And most times, most of the contracts with our foundations and the loan agreements allow us to recycle the funds. So in best case scenario, if I lend company A $100,000 and they're supposed to repay it over 5 years, as that repayment comes in, I can lend company B money. So that's how it's supposed to work. So we can't lose money. If we lose money, we won't have money to provide. And again, our market, we don't compete with banks. It was mentioned that Invest Detroit is a sponsor, and we work very similar to Invest Detroit, and we work closely with Invest Detroit. So we don't compete with them either. We kind of take ourselves out of the competition. If you come to us, it's because you need us. Who we do want to compete with are your online lenders, the high interest rate lenders. But your banks, your local, we're considered a community development financial institutions, your other local CDFIs, our nonprofit lenders. We would rather partner with them to help you get to where you need to be than to compete, because we want to keep recycling the monies. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
As a borrower, do you have access to kind of like your sponsors, the big corporate names like Ford,
Not really. Sometimes there's events that they sponsor. Yeah. There was we had a customer appreciation event with JP Chase, and they sponsored it. So Jamie Diamond came and spoke, and something like that, then yes. But usually no. Yes.
In addition to looking at the numbers, what level of independent due diligence do you do before you give out the loan?
Well, we want to sit down and meet with you. We want to visit your actual workspace, your office per se. Understanding your business plan. It's a lot of conversations, mainly. We'll do a site visit. We'll want to see your product or whatever it is. And then once you provide the loan package, I find that there's always a lot of one-on-one conversations. And it's rarely that there's like a 2-week turnaround. The loan process may take 6 to 8 weeks. Trust me, by the time I get through a loan process with a customer, I know how many kids they have, I know if they're married, I know a lot about these people. So that's it, it's just getting to know the owners. Because usually you are the company. We're not dealing with large companies with several stakeholders. Usually it's only 1 or 2, 3 owners.
I was thinking about really specialized industries that have specific markets and competitive landscapes that might take a lot of time on your end.
However long it takes is what we will invest. Pretty much. It's because we're not industry specific, so each one is separate, you know. Real estate is kind of easy, you know. If you do a house, you know a house. But as you get to know, I did have a pharmacy one time. It took a lot of time to sit down and learn how pharmacies work. You think it's easy, it's not so easy. So yeah, it depends on the industry and the company. And then my learning curve too as well.
What type of matching programs do you have? I know that you match other fund loans? Can you work with others to match?
Absolutely, especially depending on the risk and the dollar amount. So if, let's say a client comes to us and they need $600,000 and our max is $500,000, we may be able to call over to Invest to Trade. Would you like to look at this and we go into this deal 50-50? We do things like that. If there's a client, let's say you have a traditional lender and they're like, well, your collateral says we have a limit based on your collateral, so there's a gap of maybe $50,000. Well, a lender like us can come in and we can fill that gap and we take a subordinated position to the traditional lender, so they look at it as quite equity. So something like that. And then there's also, if you're in Detroit, operating the Motor City Match grant program that comes through the DGC, and we're a partner with them, and so we fund a lot of their deals as far as their gaps are concerned. Thank you.
Okay, we'll have Sidney come up. Go ahead.
All right, cool. So my name is Tendo, and I'm Sidney, and we're here to present to you the project that we've been working on called PECTIV. So before we get started, a little bit about the company. The name of the company is Aradie, Inc. We started it towards the end of last year, and basically wanted to create a vehicle where we could go and tackle and solve some of the biggest problems that we saw in society.
So as we got started, before we actually got to developing PECTIV, we took a look at some big problems we wanted to solve, as Tim was talking about. And one of the problems we wanted to solve was online discourse. So when you really look at it, the information that we get on the web gets to us via filter. It's based off of agreeable content and things that we like. So what we're seeing is that that's not bad in and of itself, but when you see the stat right here that more and more adults are getting their news from social media, you can see how these echo chambers can be facilitated, and that can also lead to increased polarization and less agreement that we've been seeing lately.
And Sidney's assessment isn't wrong. As a matter of fact, I think that they're real problems. We all think that they're real problems at Aradie. We think that they're problems that can manifest and dilate if we don't take a concerted effort to curb them right now. So for instance, loss of empathy stemming from polarization. I don't know about you guys, but I feel confident knowing that my neighbor can see and understand my problems. And my coworkers and my colleagues and my family can all understand my problems. But as soon as we start dividing and somebody on this end can't understand this person on this end, we start framing different arguments as that person's the enemy. And that can start leading for an opening of misinformation or fake news, as some of you guys might know it. And it's ultimately a post-truth society where everything that you're hearing that doesn't necessarily agree with what you're saying or what you've been exposed to can just be seen as somebody trying to thwart your lifestyle. Last is loss of constructive debate. And this is interesting because when you hear debate, you automatically think argument. And the way we see it, and the way that we were kind of learned about debate, is a way to come to a common truth about something, whether it's politics or whether it's just, what screen are we going to use for the latest iPhone? Always two different sides coming together and saying, this is my perspective and this is my perspective, and saying, all right, let's come up with all the facts and all the knowledge, and then come to a mutual understanding that can benefit the plurality.
So PECTIV isn't a political app. We don't want it to just be all politics. It's just really easy to use politics to eliminate it. So Barack Obama in a podcast recently actually talked about the need to create some sort of virtual Times Square where different sides can come together and try to find solutions for issues. And also, conservative commentator Glenn Beck has said, I don't want to mess up his quote, "The only way for our society to work is for each of us to respect the views of others and even try to understand and empathize with one another." So what we're really saying here is this is a human problem that we all definitely should be concerned about.
Cool, so what does something that solves this problem actually look like? Because at the start of this, we said that we're a company that likes to solve problems, and this is a pretty big problem that we think can become bigger if it's not addressed. So we envision something where you can find common ground easily. You have an avenue to collaborate in and between perspectives, and one where you get a comprehensive view of a subject, question, or topic.
So Perspective, what we've created, we call it a collaborative information repository made up of the community's perspectives. So the experience, to put it in a nutshell, is comprehensive, it's fluid, it's informational, and it's collaborative. And you can kind of read these quick little blurbs, I won't go into it too much.
Right, and it all starts with a post, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. And around that post are different buckets, which we call perspectives, where two people that might agree on something might come and build out this perspective and start presenting that perspective in its strongest form. While some other people might come over here. If you don't have an idea or perspective that you want to jumpstart already, you can use these conversations, which is another module in our app, as a vehicle to start developing out these perspectives. And right here is the home feed, it's just a screen grab. And then here's a screen grab of the perspectives page.
So what's the ask? Basically right now we're in our testing / user acquisition phase. So if this is something that you guys are interested in learning more about or just badgering us and making our lives difficult, by all means, we'd love to get your emails, first and last names, your email address, and we can get you guys as alpha testers. That'd be a huge help. And then also tell a friend. So thanks a lot.
By the way, we're coming out with our alpha pretty soon, so Iman, who's actually our VP of research at our company, we've done a lot of digging on this stuff about how to execute it and everything. He's going to pass out some cards. So if you're interested in doing alpha testing, then we'll shoot you an email. We won't spam you. He's going to pass that out with some pens and pencils. Just first name, last name, email, and we'll get you.
And if you don't want to alpha test, a comment or criticism on what you guys just saw would be huge as well.
Thanks.
Questions?
Questions?
Oh, shoot. Fire.
So with, user posts from the community, it's really cool, yeah. But do you have a way to filter out trolls? Because you're going to get that with the community.
So part of it is built into our algorithm and the way it's set up to curb trolls. I mean, obviously, trolls are just a part of, life. You can't just get rid of them. But we have taken a lot of concerted efforts to, through community engagement building and fleshing out the community and really taking concerted effort to make sure that the community feels ownership over the app and the platform to the point where they'll start also pushing out other people. But we have taken tech and algorithmic steps to start filtering that stuff.
And also combine it with trying to build out a moderator community as well.
I think you didn't know.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to think of the best use cases for this app. What do you envision as like this app? What sort of issues do you think this app would help the most?
I think the most on the forefront, which is the biggest thing that everybody talks about, is politics. That's the first one. But I do see, I'm a big fan of sports, and I don't know if there's any other sports fans here, but I love watching First Take, listening to Colin Carroll, but they usually post questions. Actually, a lot of radio shows post questions. Everybody here, while you're driving back, turn on the radio station like that. And you'll actually hear people say, all right, so what do you think of that? And you have a lot of people call in and they start saying, I believe this because of this, and I believe that because of that. And so we see that kind of permeating into the community itself. So if they want to say, all right, I don't really know much about this topic, but I have my stance on here, but I want to go and see what other people are that don't have my view, and specifically on the other side, will definitely be users that we're trying to reach out and help people on opposite ends.
So basically something with multiple perspectives. So another thing is fitness. So for instance, there's a million diets. So now I can go to this perspective, and this is coming from the perspective of somebody coming from the point of view from someone who wants to learn. Maybe I don't want to contribute, but I'm curious about dieting. So now I can see, in a holistic view, I can see every different perspective now. I don't have to go digging around and
The biggest thing that happened, why we really turned, like I said, all right, this is something we want to do, is it was towards the end of last year, but the biggest thing was we found ourselves engaging with subjects and then checking 8 different websites to find information on it. I would go to this website and they would all be about this, and I would go to this website and they'd all be about that. And we kind of want to aggregate that and put them under one house and allow people to benefit off of people with the same mindset to go and build out their own perspectives and ideas.
So I would essentially vote for a perspective. If it were my perspective, I would vote for it.
It's some functionality.
Yeah.
And then as a user, I could come in and see how many people have this perspective.
Yeah.
So you can see at a glance basically it's something.
Or like another use case. So you said that you were with software development and then you got into UI. If I made a post on there and it was a certain brand, something we agreed upon, you should lay out your designs like this. You could come up and be like, you know, that's a good point, but time to miss something. And I'm going to go and add this so that way the next person can benefit off of that and we can actually build out our ideas and collaborate on that perspective as well. Likewise, you'll be able to see something that's completely different. No, you shouldn't lay your navigation on the top. You should do it on the side. Here's why. Here's my experiences why. You'll have multiple people building and fleshing out that idea.
Do you have any other?
Oh, come
How
on.
you prioritize it? You're doing prioritizing down the road?
Do you have your hand up?
I was gonna say, what's the,
What's that?
Business opportunity.
So right now, we're actually we're in the user acquisition phase and trying to test it out and make sure that this is even a solution that, you, the people want to use. We are playing around with some business models as well, but, right now, we're not saying we're going to make money with that.
So one thing that like me and Sidney wants to talk about is, although we have to shoot this idea completely, but we want to move away from ads. Because unless, in our opinion, unless you're Google, Facebook, ads is kind of like a cop-out to saying, we don't really have an idea right now. But we have actually thought out some really, really, concrete ideas that we think that we can exchange and make, a lot of revenue once we establish ourselves as something that can support a diverse group. So really this is just testing grounds to see if our monetary idea can actually suffice in the market.
one of the problems with technologies like this is that it often is difficult to attract a diverse user base. So how are you going to tackle that?
That really comes with our user acquisition. So really, we're going to just be grassroots with it. We want to really want, are we getting, again, to go pop, or let's go sports. Do we have too many Ohio State fans? Let's get some Michigan fans.
You're going to lock out Ohio State?
No, we're not going to lock them out, but we are going to definitely actively go out and say, all right, you're on this blog, or you always post deep Michigan statuses breaking down Michigan's history back to Bo Schemberger. Would you guys like to check out Pective? Come out here and check out what we have. So we definitely thought well.
Extending off what Sidney was saying is, we're of the mindset that business is still business. If you make a product, it's still a product. You can't just expect to put it on Reddit or something like that, or on Facebook, and say, hey, everybody go download my app. And that's why we called it a project too, because it's something we want to keep doing. If we have to come out to 1 million of these events and go and meet different people, and we only get one person that says, hey, I'm interested in using your platform, then that's a win for us, because it's something that allows us to go and build out the community in a way that we haven't really seen in the tech industry. I don't know if that answers your question.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just have one more. So I know you said that the whole idea is that social media tailors the ads that you see towards sort of what you look at. So you're not getting all the perspectives. So now how are you going to get people that only look at ads about certain things to click on other posts on your app?
Well, so right now we're going with the approach that exposing them to it, it's going to be there. So and I don't think we did a good job with the screen that we had. It was kind of a rough grab, but it'll be a post, and then you'll see all the perspectives there. So it won't be, as opposed to, it wasn't necessarily ads, but on your social media feed, it generally leans towards, one direction, to be political again, left or right, most likely. But here you will see the left perspective, a right perspective, a middle right, and a middle left. So you would actually see them all in one place.
That too, when we start gauging, for instance, your home feed, what are you going to see in your home feed? We don't do it about what you like specifically in terms of you're more left than right. It's more, you're more of a this fan than that fan. It's more about the topic in general. And so we have a tag system which we've cultivated and we've built out too. We're going to expand, but that's something more in-house that we're not just going to free will and say you can add your own tags. It's something that we're actually implementing ourselves, so that way we can start saying this is how we're going to tailor your feed to you, not necessarily just going the way of showing you things that you just like. So it's more around, to summarize, it's more around the topic and the subject as opposed to the specific view. Yeah.
Thanks, Pat.
Thanks.
And the problem that we're addressing is primarily right now in the veterinary market. It's with horses. So you have a horse, and that horse can get wounded any number of ways. you're an inventor, if you're a horse show, you're just transporting your horse, they can get wounded, getting transported, getting out of the transport, they can bump into a wall, they have a wound on their arm. If you're riding your horse around and say a hunter jump event, which is a lot of jumping and fancy horse work with the footwork, the horse can bang themselves up and they have a wound right on their arm, so what do you do to treat that? Well, you have to figure out how to push that horse against the wall and then rub in some kind of cell that is not easy to rub into the wound. And while that horse struggles around with you because that wound obviously hurts. So it's really painful for them, and that rubbable cell is really inflexible and it's not as effective as one would think. So we developed honey here, which is a natural solution to this. It's based on honey, essential oil, and then we gel it together into a hydrogel. It uses wet wound healing, it produces better outcomes, it controls how the wound heals to reduce scarring. It reduces the amount of time that you need to treat that wound by helping it heal faster, which is a side effect of wet wound healing. Because honey and the selection of ingredients that we use are such strong antimicrobials, it reduces the amount of drugs we need to use. And a lot of horses, you end up giving oral antibiotics. You don't want to do that because horses don't like taking antibiotics, and it's a total pain to be able to do it. So if you can treat it topically, much better. Our application is also much more malleable and much more flexible. We can vary the thickness and consistency as well. So we can atomize it, we can make it into a really, really thick gel for really big wounds. We can make it available in many different applications. So what I wanted to go through tonight with you guys, though, is how we started and how we pivoted into this area. And what we did is, originally, we started out doing observations in the Detroit Medical Center as students with Wayne State University. And how we stumbled upon the problem of burn and wound care having ineffective solutions was actually in pediatric medicine. I and my partner, Aradie, were in this class, and I was doing most of the observations. And I saw this 7-month-old girl, and she had been dumped into a hot bath of really scalding hot water, and she had burns over 70% of her body. And they were trying to treat her with a 1950s treatment of silver sulfadiazine, which is this really thick paste that you have to scrape across the burn. And she was under conscious sedation but trying to wake up. So we looked at this and we were like, Children's Hospital mission statement is advancing better care for pediatric medicine, which includes less pain for children. And they're using a treatment that is causing this child to literally wake up from sedative medicine. And we're like, this can be improved. So we delved into, as true engineers would, into how a burn and wound is treated, really. And actually, I kind of messed up a little bit on this slide. We came up with a 3-phase therapy, and this was our first phase. It was kind of a system of things to use, and so we tailored it so an EMT could deploy a device, and then you could bring that patient or child to the hospital, deploy this short-term management therapy, which was based on a wax solution with silver nanoparticles, and then send them home with this 3rd phase, really intensive, slowly reducing film implanted with lead. Really complicated stuff. I don't want to get way too far into it because I could talk all evening about it. We took that idea and we looked at it and we were like, well, what's really practical after we came out of this class? We really wanted to continue developing it, advancing it, and we had a great support group with our professors. They wanted us to continue along the track of looking at it, and so we got in contact with Innovation Warriors. Then it was Blackstone Launchpad. And we started doing entrepreneurship activities on it. We started doing customer discovery, we went to an emergency room, we interviewed a couple of physicians, we started fleshing out which ideas were. Right away we threw that 3rd phase component away. And then we were like, what's the most practical, applicable thing that we could do? The phase 2, this wax and silver nanoparticle thing, became our flagship product, so to speak. And so we switched out that wax component to a honey base, and it became this much more applicable, much more flexible thing that was highly effective in treatment, and it was based on current research that we were finding in the burn and wound care industry. that honey is actually a better wound treatment, and it's been around for much longer than the silver sulfadiazine. And it's much cheaper, it's much friendlier to children especially, and it reduces scarring, which is also excellent for children. So we continued along that for about 9 months. And we applied to DTX Launch Detroit. And if you are trying to found a business, the single greatest thing you can do is apply to the Startup Accelerator and participate in one. There are numerous around here in southeastern Michigan, and I have to say, do it. We learned about...
When we wrap up in 30 seconds, we'll ask questions.
Yeah, so we entered into incubation after the acceleration. So we pivoted several times along this time. So we pivoted into veterinary care during DTX, and then we into large animal care in fall of last year. And so now we're in the horse segment, and we're making new pushments into the marketing. We started up a few new relationships with the Michigan Small Business Development Commission and Michigan State University to do some clinical trials for us, pre-clinical trials for us. So we're really kind of fleshing out how our product is developed and kind of refining the marketing of it and pushing forward with the marketing solutions. So,
Okay, we'll go with questions.
yes.
Can you talk just a bit about the product development? Like, how do you decide how much honey and essential oils mix in with the gel, contact with the tube manufactured?
There's a lot of research out in the area of honey right now, and it's building all the time. And so we had to choose which honey that we wanted first. Every honey from every area of the world has a different activity for antimicrobial properties. And so our particular honey, we source, it's the only true medical grade honey out there. And so we found a lot of data and accumulated all of it, and then we started testing it on our own about what concentrations would work instead of active. And we used what's called a minimum inhibitory concentration. So silver sulfadiazine has multiple issues in terms of its performance. Silver in ineffectiveness. So our product helps the wound heal faster because it's based on wet wound healing therapy. Wet wound healing therapies help that wound mediate just a whole wound healing process once it hits a certain temperature point. And what you end up with is, because it's a strong antimicrobial product, there's a very low bacterial load in the wound, so the wound heals pretty much on its own. Silver sulfadiazine does the exact same thing, except silver inhibits wound healing. So our product does it is the same strength antimicrobial component, it just doesn't inhibit wound healing the same way that silver does, in simple words.
Which microbial agents is it effective against?
So
like what, you talked about having that minimum inhibitory concentration, so which species?
There are multiple points for honey, and when we add a 50% concentration, we inhibit all the way up to MRSA, which is pretty much the current issue of wound healing bacteria. MRSA is everywhere, but it doesn't really respond to a lot of drugs now. It's starting to develop a lot of resistances. So honey itself has what's called methyl MgO, which is a methyl accent. And when it's it's an antimicrobial as opposed to an antibiotic, so it doesn't work through the same pathway, and it inhibits the growth of the bacteria in the house.
Would you do any clinical trials?
Yes. Yeah. So I wasn't supposed to do that. MSU is doing our clinical trials. They're testing it on $20 first to see if it, just to test all the claims out in a live animal trial. And from what we have seen, it's currently being used on at least 3 animals for the.
This is phase 1?
It's a preclinical trial, so it's just kind of to see if it works. In the veterinary area, it's a little bit different. We don't have to go through an IRB, we don't have to go through a lot of the red tape that a human trial would. We just kind of have to prove that it's not going to hurt an animal. And, honey, using a lot of papers on other honey treatments that are just straight honey or some things. And we pretty much proved that it's not going to hurt, so we're pretty confident that they do low severity wounds.
So you were saying that the breeding you have right now is for horses?
Yes.
How did you decide, like, dogs versus horses versus people? Like, I think that would affect like the final product, but how did you?
This goes along the lines of a lot of the pivots we made. So the product itself is actually, the only difference is how thick it is between each species, so to speak. Skincare in general, for wound care itself, a lot of people would think that when you apply a drug to a wound, it causes the wound to respond to the drug. But the wound is really going to heal on its own. It goes through 3 phases of wound healing, which is an inflammation phase, proliferation phase, and maturation phase. We can most significantly affect those first 2 phases in any species. We can force it from that inflammation phase into that proliferation phase, and that's really all we're trying to do with that product. So, in a roundabout way, that's what yes?
Based on your research with honey, because of the natural properties of honey, will your product not be susceptible to expiration and efficacy degradation with time? And the reason I ask that is I watched an archaeology documentary where they uncovered a living space with honey still in a crop, and they said that through all the years that it had survived, that it was still edible and good. You never had to worry about honey going bad.
So there's a lot of different types of honey available out there. Medical grade honey is one of those honeys that in its raw state will never ever go bad. It's because honey has not only just that methylvoxyl content, which is antimicrobial, but because it's so highly osmotic, it kills bacteria because of from growing it in the first place. It's kind of like jam. Because ours is a mix of other stuff, it'll go bad eventually. We figure our expiration is 3 years from our current tests. And if we start losing that methylvoxyl content in about 8 months. But it's still good to use up to about 2 years.
Anyone question?
No.
Rachel. Next we have Plum Health.
We all know that the healthcare system in this country is broken. You spend way too much on health insurance for services you don't need. You have to wait an hour to see your doctor for 10 minutes. And at the end of the day, the pricing is super unclear, and you get these weird bills and you don't really know what you're paying for. It's a mess. I know I can't fix that, but I can offer a product that delivers a solution to what's going on in our healthcare ecosystem. And right now we're up and running. We're called Plum Health. We deliver affordable, accessible healthcare services in Detroit. And you can find out more about us at www.plumhealthepc.com. So how this works. In a traditional fee-for-service model, this is what we're used to. When I bill your insurance company for $1, that dollar doesn't go to me, the doctor, okay? Let's say 40% of it goes to your insurance company to pay the billers, coders, and lawyers. And then about half of that goes to the overhead of the clinic, because I have billers and coders and lawyers on my side that are fighting over that $1, okay? So what happens is your doctor ends up with 30 cents. And I'll give a real world example of what happens. So say you come in for pneumonia, your doctor bills it at a 99214, it's $130. Unfortunately, the doctor ends up with about $40. Now, you're thinking, okay, why do we care? Doctors make a lot of money anyways. And they do that by seeing more and more and more patients per hour. So rather than spending a half an hour with you and really getting to the bottom of what's going on, they see you for 5 or 10 minutes after you wait for an hour and then write a script because that's the easiest thing, okay? With what I do with Plum Health is I remove all of those middlemen. So I take out all those middlemen and I use this direct primary care model, and it's primary care like a family medicine or internal medicine doctor, but I bill the patient directly. It costs $49 a month, and I receive 48 of those $49. There's a 2% credit card charge when I bill people, so I lose a little bit of money there. And when I do that, I'm able to spend more time with you. We can really talk about what's going on with you, and I really get to understand the people that I take care of. I get to listen to you, not only physically, but also emotionally and socially. And I'm a family medicine doctor, so we talk about what's going on in your family life, because all those things contribute to your overall health. I even have time to make house calls, okay? So 95% of my visits take place in the office, but I do offer house calls as a part of my service. Looking at our break-even analysis, I don't know if you guys care about this, but we're adding about 15 new members every month. In January, we added 20. In February, we added 15, and so we're in March now. We have a low overhead office right now, so we're working towards sustainability. Our break-even's at about 50 members right now. We'll be transitioning to a larger office later this year with a higher overhead, and our break-even there is about 150 members. We are a Motor City Match winner. We won $50,000 for our business. I'm also a retail boot camp graduate and a winner of their pitch competition at that event. You might be wondering, holy crap, is this legal? And yes, there is a line item in the Affordable Care Act that says that direct primary care clinics are legal. And there's also Senate Bill 1033 in Michigan that makes this legal in the state of Michigan. So you're thinking, it's so great, it's legal, how come I've never heard of it before? It's a new movement. It started about 2010, and you can see the growth trajectory. And right now there's about 5,000 practices, or 5,000 doctors doing this across the country. We're just the only doctor in Southeast Michigan, the only one in Detroit, the only one in Wayne County. So it's coming, it's just not here quite yet on a larger scale. There is demand for this. These are all these red markers of all of the people that have said, I want direct primary care, and there's a market in Michigan for this as well. So that's what we do. Plum Health, we deliver affordable, accessible healthcare services. One thing I didn't mention is that we wholesale medications and give people at-cost labs and at-cost imaging to provide a more holistic set of services for folks, and that's my time. So thank you. All right.
How are you going to placate the lobbyists that deal with the coders? I mean, the whole big movement just recently was to convert from ICD-9 to 10 and the expense involved with that. Those folks are not going down without a fight. How are you going to fight them?
Sure. They don't know about me yet, so they can't fight me. But once they do, in all seriousness, yeah, that's an issue. There are probably some people who will be angry that I'm destroying healthcare as we know it by building this better model for folks. Because the issue is a lot of primary care doctors now are referral bases for large hospital systems, and that's kind of like the economics of it. But I don't see people trying to really come after me because I'm such a small player.
Not you personally, the movement, because your movement is taking money out of their system, which I think is laudable, but those folks don't go down without a fight, they're too big.
Right. Yeah, we have a DPC lobby nationally, and they just had a Washington-based event where we kind of talked with some legislators. So there we have moving pieces on our side as well, kind of counteracting that.
So is your $49 a month fee insurance, or is that just your fee?
You gotta separate in your mind health care versus health insurance. This is health care,
Okay.
right? Health insurance is like the catastrophic coverage you need to purchase, that's separate, so that, you know, if you were in a car accident, had a heart attack or a stroke, you'd be covered.
So does your customer have health insurance and your health care?
Yes, so most do. Most have a health insurance plan, and they just found that they're not being paid attention to, not listened to, not getting the quality care that they deserve, so they enroll with me. But I also have about 10 members currently who are uninsured, who I'm their only access point for health care, period. So I have a little bit of both, and it works both ways.
For those uninsured people, when they need more, like when you find during whatever their physicals are, they need to get like an MRI or something like that.
Sure, let's take the MRI.
Yeah.
It's $2,000 if you use your health insurance. So I had a patient who came in who wanted an MRI. The last time he got it, he paid $2,000 for an MRI of his neck. It actually costs $368, and that's what I negotiate for you to get it. So I work with a third-party imaging center. You go there, you pay $368, credit card, cash, check, at the time of service, and get it done. You're cutting out all those middlemen, all those village coders and lawyers to make the cost of the care exactly what it is and not anything inflated. Sorry, there's one guy over here, so.
Yeah, actually touch up on.
Sure.
But I just wanted to ask, what's the main difference between going through your search and having like a family-owned physician, like the same field that you're in? So they don't have the big overhead costs, right? They don't have the MRI, the fancy bells and whistles, but you still get that attention, the doctor.
Sure, so, I mean, they're still billing through the insurance-based model, so you're still getting billed $138 for a visit, and, you know, you can't, it's a non-negotiable. I realize there are some private family medicine doctors who do a nice job, but by and large, people are moving to these larger hospital systems where it's more of a bill. So I respect there are some great doctors out there.
Love the pitch, Paul. Who's your target market?
So my target audience is 26 to 50-year-olds who, mostly 26-year-olds because they're aging out of their parents' coverage and they're like, holy shit, what am I going to do? And they call me and they're like, hey, help me figure this out. I sit down and do free consultations for folks. And sometimes the better option for them is to get an insurance plan if they have a lot going on. But a lot of folks like my service because it is personable. And a lot of my market is entrepreneurs, people who own a small business who are responsible for the cost of their own health care. They look at this as a great way of saving costs. Because if I prevent one ER visit, I just save you or your company $2,000 to $3,000. If I prevent one urgent care visit, that's $200, $100 to $200. So that's where a lot of small business owners are enrolling first themselves and then their employees once they see how valuable it is.
And you said this is something that's going to be coming to Michigan soon. It's kind of all over the place. So how are you going to be different from everybody else that's going to be doing the same thing as you?
I'm the first to market. So if you want direct primary care, it's me, or the closest guy is in Brighton, 45 miles west of here. Chad Savage, Your Choice Direct Care, does a fantastic job as well. But this is it. Plum Health is the only DPC company in Southeast Michigan. Thank you so much for joining.
Okay, we've got one more, and Doron.
When you say office, hi, my name is Doron York. I'm CEO, managing partner of Side Venture. We are early stage venture capital firm in Farmington Hills, office in Silicon Valley and Tel Aviv. We invest in very early stage tech-based companies. And as building we are in the second year into our venture. We invested in 8 companies so far. We have a few more coming this year. But one of the things that I said when I got into it to my partner, I said, I don't want, this is the venture capital market is the lowest tech possible from all the fintech out there. So just using spreadsheets and emails and documents. I said, I don't want to do it this way. We can systemize it and create something that we can have a big flow deal coming in, do it fast, qualified companies, make decisions, move on. So we build it, and then we say, everybody that's seen it, any venture group that we work with, say, we want to do. So we launch SidePitch. SidePitch is basically the world's largest private investor syndicate, which means that we probably tens the market, if not even more. There's us, there's Angels List, there's funding source, and all the other platform out there. The problem with all this platform from the investor perspective, it all becomes social media network. Everybody talking to everybody, everybody sending attention to everybody. As an investor, I don't want to spend time waiting to the trees, I want to look at the deals. So we then hit another big market, which is the corporate ventures that are looking to buy technology or license technology, have no access to any deal flow exists right now, besides people that are knocking on the door and says they have something they want to show you. So we have a SidePitch. Basically, you can pitch it, fund it, to sell it. You're either looking for money to fund your startup, you can want to sell your technology or your company, you can use it both ways. So we discovered something else. If you're an entrepreneur starting a company and you want to create a pitch deck to pitch an investor, every investor wants to see things in a different way. And you go from one investor and he said, this is what I need from you, and you go to another investor and said, that's what I need from you. And that when we're going crazy, I mean, I don't understand it. So we went to about 150 venture groups that we know personally and said, okay, give me your qualification process. We took all of it together and put it online. So the start of the pitch online, it's a pay-to-play model, so it's not free. But you go through quite an intense application process to put all the information you need, so every investor can see everything they need. So you don't have to spend hours communicating back and forth, what about this, what about that, I need to see this, all of that. We put the business plan online, we put the term sheets online, we put the due diligence process online. There's an investor communication board that they can talk to other investors. The investor can talk to the startup, and as much as they want online, they don't have to expose themselves if they don't want to until they feel comfortable with the startup. Say, yeah, now I get it, I want to talk to you. You can put your video online, you can put the pitch deck online. It's everything and anything that you can think of. And then for the investor, we created the first venture management system that exists in the market, which means that you can qualify the company, you can decide to invest in the company, you can do the due diligence on the company, you create your own investment dashboard with all the portfolio companies that you're managing. The startup can report financials as they go along, their evaluation get changed, so you look at your investment before you look at the stock portfolio. And then we created something that Blackstone, somebody mentioned that, which is one of the, by the way, the ventures that sign up with us. There's an investor equity exchange. So if I invest in your company and I own 10% of the company and I have a 3 years term with you, and 3 years come and I said, hey, I want out. And you say, oh my God, I need to go find an investor who can buy your equity now so I can get you out. And they said, don't worry about it, we're going to put it in the investor exchange. So I can put it and say, hey, I'm exiting this company, I own 10%, worth $3 million, somebody want to pick it up. The hedge fund manager, the money managers, the big equity groups all say, holy mackerel, I mean, how come it doesn't exist? Right? So you can actually, you can sell your equity like you trade in stocks. Right? What else? Let's see. So it's a global marketplace. So this kind of market will fluctuate. So if I'm looking at your company, I can see how much money you're raising, what's the valuation, how much you're asking for, everything. We created, evaluation calculator for startups. I don't know how to value the company, or use 6 methods. Pick one that works for you. It's going to tell you, based on your information, how much your company is worth. There's a cap table on there. It's the use of capital there. I have 5 minutes. I can, let's see. So it's designed for a startup that looking for funding, entrepreneurs looking for license, so sell the technology. There is no technology marketplace. For every startup company that actually made it, there's 9 companies that didn't make it, but they still have something to sell. They have an algorithm, they have technology, they have platform, something that's worth money, IPs. You can post it there. Some of the venture guys, corporate ventures probably will be interested. We have Lear, Whirlpool, oh God, Delphi, Johnson Control, about 18, I think, venture partners signed up already. So if you're a venture group, either a corporate venture or an investor, you have access to high quality deal flow, you can, you have a premium deal, you can vet and qualify, and so forth and so on. If you're a venture group, and you don't have a process, we can give you a unique URL, so you can post on your website, so everybody apply to you, and go to your personal deal flow. Nobody else see it first. If you don't like it, release it to the general deal flow, and it's go. If you're in a startup and you create a portfolio, which we call it online, and let's say there's no investor in the platform interested in your deal, but you have somebody you met in the airport, instead of recreating everything, give him a guest access. You send him an invitation, you'll look at all the information is already there. So you don't have to recreate it. So if you go to a round of funding, 1, 2, or 3 round, you don't have to recreate those packages all over again. Use the same one. Let's see.
Take questions?
Yeah, I just want to show one thing at the end. So why Michigan? One of the things is very important. I'm traveling to Tel Aviv, Silicon Valley, Chicago, New York. When I said Michigan, they all say out of I said no, and Woodward is not the largest industry in Michigan. You know, and if you know what is. It's medical, biotech, healthcare, and automotive is number 4 actually. When I said the investment in Silicon Valley, he said no. Where are those deals? And I said, well, this is why we created it. So I'm going to skip some things, but so this is what we have on the platform right now. This is real numbers. We have $246 million committed by the investors. There's about $24 million already happened in a soft launch without advertising. 182 investor groups, 24 corporate ventures, and so forth. You can see it on the website as well. So it's one-stop platform. This is some of the company endorsing the platform so far, just a few of them. There's a pricing, forget the entrepreneurs, the investor price subscription, the corporate price subscription, but here's the key for you guys, for anybody in the room. We want to showcase Michigan for the rest of the country. We need to bring East Coast and West Coast money over here. They can't come here unless they see deals. So we, between now until the end of August, any startup company in Michigan, go pitch, it's for free. Ready to portfolio line. We have people in the office that are actually looking at the incoming application and they're going through them, make sure you got everything you need to go to publish it, the same with the investor. Not everybody can sign up. You need to have $500,000 in fund. You need to have at least 6 companies already invested in. So it's not designed for a beginning investor or somebody who just want to try to play around. It's a serious, Rock Ventures, Dan Gilbert's signed up last week. They're looking at one deal. So go to this is the website. If you're ready to pitch.
Do you have any competitors in this case?
Yeah, well, compared to Gus, Ninja's List, funding source, equity net, I mean, all of those, the investors complain about those platforms that they become too exposed to the rest of the world, that they don't like. The serious investors don't want to be part of the social network, they want to be alone.
The barriers of entry, make quality better.
Yeah. We promised investor quality deal, we promised the startup quality investor, so we had last week some attorney CPA tried to sign up and we declined it. We don't want to start to get called, hey, you need legal advice, or you know, it's just investors.
Do you take a commission off the total raise, or is it just the upfront?
We charge a syndication fee. I think it's $2,500 regardless of how much money you're raising. We don't want to be a broker dealer, we have the river. We charge $12. We start getting guys to see regulation. Thank you very much. We don't want to deal with that. So you raise $100,000 and $10 million to pay the same syndication fee. Check it out, go to SidePitch.com, and if you have any questions, there's a live chat. You can ask questions. People will respond to you. Thanks.
Where the base out? What's the
Farmington.
Alright, so that's about it. We usually just go around and see if anyone has any community events that's coming up and share with the group, because I can share with you that next month we have the DNewTech at Open University Inc., OU Inc. Amy Butler, who's the executive director, she pretty much they sponsor us twice a year, and next month we'll be at OU Inc. on the campus of Open University. There's food and drinks and everything, so they really do a great job in hosting us. Besides that, anyone has any events for the entrepreneurs?
Yeah. Michigan Greenlight competition. If you started a business within the last 2 years, the deadline is today. I found out about it yesterday. But at midnight it closes. So, and it took all 30 minutes to fill out the application. So if you have a new company, it's open to all entrepreneurs who started a company in the last 2 years.
That's at Michigan State, right?
Yeah, March 29th is the event.
And when my second startup festival, we have to the new emerging market. So yeah, it's a really good, great. If you don't win, it's a great opportunity to practice your pitch. Anything else? Great. I know Goldman Sachs. They're accepting resumes right now. Well, not the resumes, but applications to kind of get into the next cohort, which is the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses venture. Besides that, I think we'll wrap it up next Wednesday, next month, which is April 5th, we'll be at Open University. Thanks.